3 claps to sync. Future Nick, figure it the fuck out. I hope these ticks don't get picked up. The clock makes a cool background, but I don't know. Alright, welcome back. Here in central Pennsylvania, we have been getting plagued by short days and gray skies. My greatest fear as a photographer. Days unlike the current day we have out behind me here. But seasonal depression be damned, I was going to go out and take some pictures. Because we recently had a light snowfall followed by a heavy warm front. Perfect conditions for fog. And I had the perfect film for the day. A roll of FPP Redscale that I've been sitting on for a couple months, tucked away in the back of my fridge. It's a low ISO film coming in at just 25 ISO. And by the looks of it, at some point, it might have gone by the name Kodak Aerocolor. Not Aerochrome, mind you. Aerocolor. A color negative film by Kodak that you can only buy in bulk rolls. Commonly goes under the name Sanicolor 100, Flick Film Electra, and the like. And it happens to be one of my favorite films. But Aerocolor is a story for another day, and boy, do I have a lot to say about it. I couldn't find anything online saying exactly what FPP used, or what film they flipped to make Redscale here. So don't take my word as gospel. But like I said, judging by the film bases, they appear to be very similar. Eerily so. With the recent release of Harman Redscale, a Redscale version of Phoenix, there's been a lot of buzz around Redscale and the look that it gives. And I think for good reason. I think that there's definitely some merit there. Previously, I'd shot a roll of Cinestill Red Rum to, let's just say, mixed results. Hoping to redeem myself, I set out with my trusty point and shoot, the Pentax IQ Zoom 95S, a name only Pentax could come up with. I picked this camera up a little while back with the hopes of using it for smaller, shorter trips where photography wasn't the main focus, and I didn't want to bring around one of my SLRs. Not to say that the likes of the LX are chunky by any means, but when you're on vacation, just for vacation, you don't want to be worrying about a camera. So far, the camera has come with me on a couple trips, one being to Kentucky, again a trip focused more on spending time with friends than taking pictures. But I can't say I was disappointed by the pictures that I got off the camera. For fun, carefree snaps, it's a great camera. My biggest reason for taking the IQ Zoom out with me today is because I just kind of wanted to. But there was some logic behind it. The IQ Zoom native ISO defaults to 25, so that's what it naturally meters for. When I saw the 25 ISO on the Redscale, I said, you know what? Let's give this a shot. Another thing is that it has a zoom lens on it, which is something I haven't really messed around with a ton. I was curious to see what kind of results and what kind of freedom that would enable me to have. The camera also has a built-in flash, which given the situation, I figured a little extra fill light might actually come in handy. That's been something I've been more and more curious about as well, as implementing flash or fill light in my work. Lastly, and probably the most important given the current day, the camera is really simple to use. One button to shoot, one toggle to zoom in and out. It was very easy to shoot with, especially given that I was wearing gloves that day, which normally I don't do, especially if I'm working with a more tactile SLR. It's a little more difficult to navigate. a lot of people doing like little drive-throughs. I guess just checking to see the state that the lake is in. And I brought this big coat, but it's really not that cold out today. It's certainly not as cold as it looks. I do think I'm more challenged for light than I planned on being. So I'm glad I went with the point and shoot. Have a flash, a little bit of a slower lens. I think it's like a 3.4 as opposed to a nifty 50. But we're making it work. The zoom is coming in handy today. It's kind of nice having being able to just turn around and snap a picture at every corner. But I'm gonna have some more of my breakfast here and do some walking. Take another crack. The framing is much nicer over here. There's a lot of little cracks starting to form. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear some continuing. Deep of this lake before, and there's some nice views. There are a little few and far between them.
saw someone pull out of the street there when we came in. It's a road that leads to some cabins. And I think we're going to check out the views over there. I've been over there before. I've taken a few shots that I really like. So I have a good feeling about at least getting one or two over there and then wrapping up the roll early so we don't have any tearing issues. So I drove out to where the cabins were, and it turns out there's people in them. There was cars parked, and I didn't want to cause any problems. People like privacy, so I wasn't going to start snapping pictures where people are on their weekend trips. Another problem is that it started raining, so I think I'm going to snap one or two pictures here, turn around, and start heading home. Finish up the roll probably on the drive. There's a lot of little spots to stop. And thankfully, because this is so quick to use, I can snap them out the window and zoom in a little bit so I don't have the car in the shot. It's not a very technical video today. More of a just getting out and shooting. Working with a film I've never shot before. Working with a camera I don't really shoot a lot of. And in conditions I don't really shoot a lot of. Terribly lit, absolutely covered by trees and fog, but it looks kind of cool. I don't think this has got the reach or the optical sharpness to pull it off though. So we're gonna pack it in and make our way out.
So, FPP Redscale has a look to it. Definitely has a look. Given the film and the day and the lighting situation and the camera, I think a lot of these pictures came out pretty good, better than I expected. The highlights are really highlights on this film, and on the brighter note, the darks are also very dark. It leads to a lot of these silhouetted looks, which I'm a really big fan of. It's one of the big reasons I shoot Frania P30. I just love the really striking black point and capturing people in silhouette, especially when they're backlit. On that note, Frania, please bring it back. Put it back on the shelves. The film does retain a really good amount of detail, though. Almost surprisingly so. I didn't expect it to. I didn't expect to be able to parse out this much detail out of the film. In fact, you can even make out some of the details on the bench in this shot here. Shooting through this roll of Redscale I found was a really good exercise for my photography part of my brain. I found as I worked through this roll, I shifted my focus into looking more for shapes and compositions as opposed to fine details that I usually like to encapsulate in a lot of my work. The limitations of the film and the constraints of using a point-and-shoot camera I found was a really unique experience for me. One that was challenging in a very rewarding way. Well, I don't think I'm ready to dump out my entire film drawer all in service of glorious Redscale. I'm really glad I went out with this combo. All in all, I didn't really get any shots out of this that I'd call keepers or be chomping at the bits to throw in the portfolio. I do think it was a really good reframing. Shooting Redscale, especially with this point and shoot, pulled me out of a rut that I didn't realize I was in. pretty stuck in my ways as far as looking down the barrel of an SLR and, you know, knowing exactly what kind of shot I'm going to get and matching up my depth of field exactly how I want it. Letting loose on the reins was a really valuable experience, especially with a more experimental film. And I do think the film is very commendable. It has a great look to it, especially when the shot looks right. As I've said in the B-roll, I was going for Blade Runner vibes. Instead, I think I got Red Dead Redemption loading screens. Not that that's particularly bad. Again, all a fun experiment. I do think there is a lot more that can be said about the Pentax IQ Zoom 95S, mouthful of a name, but I'm still working on my thoughts on that camera. I think maybe I'm going to side-by-side it with a Minolta Freedom Zoom point-and-shoot that I have as well. And I am working on a project with the Pentax. Well, a project in the loosest of terms. So keep an eye out for that. Anyways, till next time.